Hello everyone and welcome back to the only series out there that combines the story of Magic the Gathering with the physical cards you can win. I'm Simon and this is Friday Night Lore. The Battle for Zendikar is just over the horizon, and so far, I've talked a lot about the heroes who will probably be featured in this story arc. Yet all these heroes are gathering to fight off something so destructive that they are considered more of a force of nature than actual beings. They're the Eldrazi. The Eldrazi are a race of odd creatures who are native to the Blind Eternities. The Blind Eternities is a space between space, the empty nothingness found connecting the many planes of the multiverse. The Blind Eternity can be compared to the openness of our deep space, an area of the universe devoid of most light and physical matter. It's an environment so harsh that it's shocking that any creature, regardless of its anatomy, could make its home there. But from a dark and cold world, true monsters are born, and these are what we refer to as the Eldrazi. Little is known about these creatures, their origins and physical makeup being almost a complete mystery. What we do know about them comes mainly from the records of the spirit dragon Ugin, who has been observing and recording information on the Eldrazi for several centuries. Records show that the Eldrazi probably evolved or were formed during the time in the ancient past of the multiverse, a time predating even the formation of mana. This would explain how these beings remain unaffiliated with any color alignment, and their ability to live and travel throughout the Blind Eternities. Ugin, even with his vast intellect and experience, cannot decipher many of the secrets of the Eldrazi. One of the greatest puzzles is how their anatomy works. The Blind Eternities, much like space, is not a place you'd traditionally find living creatures. The vastness of the Blind Eternities takes a great toll on the bodies of those who travel through it, Ugin noting that a planeswalker could not survive more than a few moments there. So if we know that living creatures can't withstand the environment for long, are the Eldrazi alive, or is there something else to their anatomy which allows them to survive this harsh region of the multiverse? Well, one theory is that the Eldrazi are in fact comprised of a manaless essence, not really having physical forms while in the Blind Eternities. This would mean that the Eldrazi are not truly living, but are more like a massless force like gravity. In a way, you can kind of think of the Eldrazi as being the fantasy version of dark matter. But how can the Eldrazi be formless if we see them physically on the plane of Zendikar? Well, Ugin again gives us some insight. As a force in the multiverse, the Eldrazi need energy, and they get this energy by feeding on mana. Mana exists in all things throughout the multiverse, save for the Blind Eternities. Creatures, water, plants, and even the planes themselves are made up of this rich resource. The Eldrazi are driven solely by their desire to feed off of this mana, and since the creatures are so massive, it's typically suggested that their hungers can never truly be sated. They can be compared to a much more hungry version of Marvel's Galactus. Their essence forms aren't able to absorb much mana, they need to feed at a much grander scale. To do this, the Eldrazi take on physical avatars which appear on the plane they wish to devour. These avatars are completely different in physical anatomy when compared to their true beings. These avatars have bodies, shapes, and ways to move around, unlike their non-physical essence forms. Using these avatars, the Eldrazi are better equipped to destroy and consume the mana of planes. Ugin points out to us that this strange feeding tactic is what makes the Eldrazi so dangerous and unstoppable. Destroying their physical avatars will only remove their ability to feed for a little while, but they'll still exist in the Blind Eternity. Although it's uncertain how many Eldrazi may exist, we currently are aware of 3, Emrakul, Ulamog, and Kozilek. We refer to these 3 as Eldrazi Titans or Gods because they seem to be the source of every other lesser Eldrazi spawn. Basically, the big guys come down, eat a bunch of mana, and spawn these little guys to spread out and devour things which may be further away. It's actually quite effective in like a terrifyingly destructive sort of way. With all known Eldrazi descending from one of these 3 Titans, most Eldrazi share physical characteristics with the Titan which spawned them. Those of the Emrakul brood all display vibrant, otherworldly colors along with having almost a fleshy-like exterior. These spawnlings also share Emrakul's use of tentacle-like appendages. While many believe these tentacles are used to move or grab things, like an octopus, they actually seem to serve almost no useful purpose. The progeny of Kozilek, on the other hand, seem to take on an almost human appearance, having standing forms which make use of arms and claws. They typically have more rigid skin, sometimes being comprised of black, jagged plates which appear to float around them. The spawn of Kozilek also often take forms similar to what we would describe as beasts, having 4 legs, a body, and a head with a mouth or jaw. Ulamog and its brood seems to be almost the complete middle ground between Kozilek and Emrakul. Many of its brood can be seen standing and fighting in a shape similar to those of Kozilek, while also sporting many tentacles like you'd find in those of Emrakul. Their key characteristic is a bony and featureless face which serves as protective armor and a reminder to all of their true nature. These 3 titans and their broods appear different, but they all excel at destroying worlds, regardless of their forms. One thing I'd like to mention about their physical avatars is just how huge these monsters are. Even some of their lesser spawns can reach sizes unheard of on most planes, dwarfing even their largest beasts. This of course means the titans themselves are on a scale which we can barely comprehend. I mean, it takes something truly unstoppable to make the planeswalker Gideon stop in his tracks and retreat just at the sight of it. These 3 Eldrazi titans have destroyed and consumed countless planes over their existence, causing many planeswalkers throughout the multiverse to take notice of this threat. The original 3 planeswalkers who banded together to stop the Eldrazi were Sorin Markov, Ugin the Spirit Dragon, and Nahiri the Lithomancer. Each wanted rid of the Titans for their own reasons, but believed that working together was the only way to ensure victory. Their plan was simple. Since the Eldrazi could not truly be destroyed, only sent back to the Blind Eternities, Ugin suggested binding their physical avatars to a plane and trapping them there. Nahiri eventually agreed to the sacrificial plane being her homeworld of Zendikar, for it was large and with enough delicious mana to serve as prime bait for the Titans. The 3 planeswalkers worked together to form Hedron networks which amplified the mana of the plane and brought the Eldrazi avatars to Zendikar. Once there, they channeled them to a focal point in the mana ley lines and trapped them in a massive Hedron known as the Eye of Ugin, found beneath the mountain of Akum. With their plan seemingly successful, the 3 shook hands and departed, agreeing to return should their jail ever become disturbed or its locks loosened. Ugin, the grand architect of the containment effort, put in some failsafes which he believed would allow them to more easily fix the Hedrons, while also making it unlikely for them to ever become unlocked. It would take the presence of 3 Planeswalker Sparks combined with the presence of a dragon and the use of a special colorless spell to unlock the Eldrazi. This is just a situation which no one could reasonably predict would happen simply by accident, so it seemed fairly safe. Unfortunately, the secrets of the Eldrazi and their imprisonment were stolen by the ruthless Nicol Bolas, a terribly powerful and evil dragon planeswalker. Nicol Bolas used this information to manipulate events so that the prison for the Eldrazi would become open. To what end, we do not know. But we do know that the planeswalkers Chandra Nalaar, Jace Beleren, and Sarkhan Vol would all eventually meet in their travels at the Eye of Ugin. Nicol Bolas had manipulated all these figures up to this point. Sarkhan Vol turned into a dragon to fight the intruders off, while Chandra used a Ghostfire spell she learned as a result of Bolas previously. Jace only briefly figured out that all 3 had been placed there by Bolas before the mountain shook and the magical seal was released. Now, this was a huge breach in the Eldrazi's imprisonment, but it wasn't a full escape. Many of their larger spawns were able to break free and terrorize the world, but the Titans themselves were still, for the most part, unable to wiggle free. With the breaking of the magical barrier, all 3 of the original planeswalkers who captured the Eldrazi, Sorin, Ugin, and Nahiri, should have been summoned to fix it. Sorin made his way there as soon as he felt it break, but found that his other 2 comrades were no-shows. Nahiri's disappearance is still a mystery, but we do know that Ugin was captured, tortured, and killed by Nicol Bolas, so he was a little unavailable, although he does get resurrected in the Fate Reforged storyline. With Soren all alone at this point, he groups up with another Zendikar native planeswalker, Nissa Ravain, to see if they can reseal the Eldrazi. As they travel, Nissa becomes aware of Soren's true intentions, to trap the Eldrazi on Zendikar for all eternity, meaning the continued pain and suffering of Zendikar itself. Nissa decided to deviate from the original plan and destroyed the massive Hedron which served as the Titan's last barrier towards release. Nissa believed that by freeing the Eldrazi gods, they would simply just return to the Blind Eternities, sparing her precious home. This was not the case. The mana of Zendikar was just too tempting for the gods to leave. Fearing there was nothing else to be done, Soren planeswalked away, leaving the doomed world. Nissa, feeling like a complete imbecile for releasing these things and basically killing her own world, chased after Soren in order to bring him back and save Zendikar. A few years after this massive escape, we find that Zendikar is almost completely destroyed and that only one of the 3 Eldrazi Titans remain on the plane. Ulamog is continuing its feast on Zendikar, and for some unknown reason, Kozilek and Emrakul had fled back to the Blind Eternities. And this is the stage we find for the upcoming Battle for Zendikar. Numerous different planeswalkers banding together in an attempt to finally destroy at least one of these great gods of destruction. Will they, even with their combined force, be enough to finally end one of these titans? We'll have to wait till this fall to find out. So there you go guys, what we know so far about the Eldrazi and how the stage will look in the Battle for Zendikar. Since I didn't want to give away any one Eldrazi Titan for this week's FNL, seeing that I covered them all, I've decided to make this week's prize the mythic spell, All Is Dust. It really captures the true nature of these creatures, and I find it a fitting card which represents all Eldrazi. To enter for your chance to win this card, all you have to do is be a subscriber to this channel and comment on this video. At the end of the week, I'll use a random number generator to select the winner and announce them at the end of next week's Friday Night Lore episode, so stay tuned to see if you've won. Now, let's unveil the winner of last week's FNL giveaway. On the last FNL, I covered the story of the Merfolk Planeswalker Kiora, who will also make an appearance in the Battle for Zendikar. As a result, I was giving away a copy of Kiora the Crashing Wave to one lucky person who commented on that video. And so, the winner of last week's FNL and new owner of this Kiora the Crashing Wave card is Alexsander Gromsrud. Congratulations to the YouTube user Alexander Gromsrud, and thank you for that pun. If you could, please check your private messages on YouTube. There you'll find a message from me containing all the information I need to send you this card. If you don't find the message, try checking in your spam folder because it could have ended up there. So that's it for this week's FNL. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It really goes a long way in supporting future content. Another way you can support this channel directly is by visiting my sponsors, ABU Games. ABUGames.com is one of the leading online Magic the Gathering stores and has everything you could possibly want, from booster boxes to specific singles. Friday Night Lore and all my giveaways are brought to you by ABU Games. Check out their website linked in the description below. As always guys, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.